We are live. Welcome to the 2018 Canadian Indoor Singles Championships. I'm Jake Shuknik, joined again by David Gerard. How are you doing, David?
I'm doing okay. And you?
I can't complain. Bit of a later start today with no game on Rink 5 for the first round of the day. So our feature match here right now is between Mike O'Reilly from Alberta against Patrick Cote from Ontario. Mike O'Reilly's got green bowls while Patrick has red ones, so it should be pretty easy to tell who's who.
Yeah, and their record so far, Patrick, is 3-3 after 6, and Mike is 1-5 after 6.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, and there's quite a logjam sort of in the middle of the pack. On the men's side, there's the top one is John Bjornsson. He's all wins, and then Heren, David Anderson, Greg Wilson, and John Braun 4-2. And then 3-3, there's another 4 bowlers: Richard, Kerry, Doug, and Patrick. Yeah, so it's quite a
cluster.
Yeah, it is. And I believe it's similar on the women's side, but we're commenting on the men's game right now. So
if you want to find out the women's standings, head over to bowlscanada.com under the indoor singles tab under championships. You'll be able to see all the updated standings and results. Women are still finishing up that first round this morning. There's still, I see, 3 games going on, so that's why the standings aren't there yet for their first game this morning.
yeah, and on 6 it was Rainbow and Emma, and that was a game of the undefeated, and Rainbow came out on top of that one, so she's now 5-0, and Emma's 4-1.
Ah, there we go.
Do you have any idea, Jake, what bowls these guys are using on this?
I know we had talked about that
Yeah,
before,
we
and
had.
I didn't actually go down and ask them. Based on the dimples, I'm guessing that Mike O'Reilly is using Henselite XGs.
Yeah. The Dreamlines, yeah.
And I can't tell for Patrick. I would be guessing that might be a Taylor bowl. Not quite sure though.
Yeah, that's one thing I found really interesting is there seems to be a depending on what end of the country you're from, there seems to be a certain kind of allegiance in choice of bowls, right? I know a lot of the West Coast is Henselite, and I think Taylor's a lot.
Yeah. Ontario is very Taylor based, and I feel like a lot of that is mostly just based on who their distributor supplier
Exactly.
is. Because out here you have Vince Meyer with Henselite, and so everybody can get bowls from him, whereas out in Ontario and East area, you've got Dan Milligan with MVP Sports and Taylor Bowls, so
Yeah. So that's
whatever's closest.
Yeah, whatever works.
Yeah.
So what do we got down there now?
Well,
Oh, are these? No, that's not trial ends.
No, this is at number 1, and it looks like Mike's flying 2 in a look. I don't think that's going to be good enough to get in the count.
No.
Opportunity here for Patrick to trail the jack back for 3 or 4, though.
Yeah.
Grab the... Well, we always say grab the white, but I guess in this case grab the yellow on your way through and take that back. Definitely no reason to be short here. I mean, you can draw it off for 1, but there's a lot of opportunity to play aggressive at this. If you grab the bowl, that helps. If you grab the jack, that's even better.
Yeah, you got to be narrow if anything, eh?
Now there is that nice port between those 2 green bowls that you could slide through too, so you're gonna have to be pretty accurate with your line. You can't be hitting that port 'cause you're not gonna get anything out of it. We'll find out how aggressive he plays at this.
No, he's just going for a straight draw, I think.
I think he's got a little bit of weight to it, just to maybe go for the trail.
Yeah.
That was, yeah, actually almost jack high weight. Wow.
So it looks like he was maybe trying to minimize the damage or something, but it's hard. It's difficult to tell which.
Yeah, they've only taken out one, so it looks like
Mm.
it's one in a look. Well, now we know that Patrick's more of a conservative player as opposed to aggressive, because
Yeah.
very first end, if you're going to be aggressive, now's the time to do it, because
Yeah.
nothing to lose. So, based on that, I don't think we'll expect many drives out of Patrick for the entire game.
Yeah, probably not. And I've never really. I mean, I've been around the last day or two, but I've never really focused on any particular individual players. And both Patrick and Mike are new to me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure they've been around for years, but
I can't say I know either that well. I do remember when Patrick first started bowling. I want to say I met him down in Niagara Falls, maybe Burlington area, in a tournament, and that was probably only, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 years ago, so not too long. And Mike, I believe, was at the majors this year playing fours, so I saw of him, but I didn't quite know him.
yeah. So were you at both the team and the singles?
Yep, was there for the whole shebang, and that was a very, very long week. 8 or 9 days, whatever it was, of 16-hour days was quite tiring, to say the least.
That makes you wish you were a bowler at that particular time.
At that particular time, yeah. Would have been shorter days and easier on the body, but live and learn.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But yeah, speaking of players who haven't necessarily zoned in on in their styles on the rink next to us, we have Kerry Lucier and is that Richard?
Richard Yao.
Richard Yao.
Yeah.
So the game that was streamed yesterday had Kerry in it, and found out very quickly he is a very drive-happy player. He threw more drives than any game we've streamed so far, so he's a very attacking, aggressive player. Learned after that stream yesterday. So, so that's one style I know now, and based off of that first end here, I'm guessing Patrick's the exact opposite.
Yeah, Richard, yeah, he's, I know Richard fairly well from bowling indoor, and he has got a really, when he gets zoned on his draw shots, he's incredibly accurate. So that's what I expect to see out of Richard. Almost all draws.
All draws.
Yeah. So it's two conflicting styles, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So that first
end, Mike picked up 2, and it looks like he's got his weight figured out here. As he's got another one jack high.
Yeah. Yeah, which confirms that Patrick was probably, his draw shot was probably just trying to
minimize damage.
Yeah. Yeah. Although we all bowl differently.
Yeah, I got the comment yesterday after the game we streamed of Kerry Lucia came up to me and told me that his wife or family or whatever was watching, and I kept saying throughout the broadcast, you know, if I was on the mat, I'd be playing the exact opposite of what Kerry did, almost the entire game.
Yeah.
And it's just different styles. You see the game differently, I guess.
Oh, for sure, for sure. Yeah. I'm just they have some, I think, very good markers here too, compared to other places. And I think that one of the reasons is that it's an amalgamation of all the different bowling clubs in the greater mainland area, so they I've had compliments in the past about how well they've been doing the marking and stuff like that. So I'd like to just have a little shout out to them and keep it up. Our president is marking on rink 3, Serge Petiot, or not Serge Petiot, Serge
Panu.
Yeah, Panu. I knew a Serge Petiot. And Diane is on 1. Diane Fulton. She's a fairly well accomplished bowler. I haven't seen 2. One of the newer markers is oh, I'll have to think of his name. Michael. I don't know what his surname is, and he's from, I believe, Richmond Lawn Bowling Club, and this is probably his first national marking.
Okay.
And on 6 is Vivian.
Chan?
Yeah. She is Eric's wife. Eric's around here somewhere with his camera taking pictures. And Vivian went as a third over to the UK with Rainbow and Eric, I believe. Yeah.
Okay.
To do some indoor bowling there. They won the Eric and Rainbow won the indoor mixed pairs.
Right on.
Provincial. Yeah.
Right on.
So there's a story within a story. So how are we looking here now?
It's a bit of a looser head actually, but not bad. What I really like about the centre here is that every bowl is at the jack or past.
Right.
Not a single bowl is short, which makes it a lot easier for the players to navigate here. And interesting setup right now again here, because I think that Mike might have been trying to trail the jack a little bit. He had a nice little trail there for 4. And now Patrick can do the exact same thing on the other hand if he can trail it to the left of your screen. He's got 3 red ones waiting there, but I would think he's probably just going to try to draw to minimize the damage again.
Yeah.
Just based on how he handled the first end. Right now it is for sure 2 to Mike.
Watch him fool us and
throw a full-out drive or something.
Yeah, exactly. Because if he hits a jack and doesn't, well, even if he hits those bowls, they're glued together almost. And if he doesn't hit it too hard,
I'd probably caution not to throw a drive at this just because of all the gaps there. There's really just a bare jack drive you're throwing out, which is not the biggest target. So you'd have to be pretty precise if you're going to be throwing a drive.
Yeah. And that also is one of the reasons that's the way it is that, like you mentioned at the beginning, that all the bowls are jack high or past.
And he's on his backhand, so could be going for the trail, could just be going for a draw. We'll find out.
Yeah. If he sticks onto that green bowl there, he may have shot, eh? But he's a little bit
inside. Just got the wrong side of it.
Yeah.
So I think that'll be another 2 to Mike to make it 4-0. Getting back to markers and the high quality of markers here, this past year the officiating committee, the National Officiating Committee, put together a marker training resource, which I then circulated around to every provincial officiating chair. And what I really like what George does here in BC is he has a marker training sort of program where you undergo whatever training it is. I don't know if it's a couple hours to go over the training to be a marker, but then he enters it into a spreadsheet and you're sort of classified as a trained marker. And I don't know whether it's good for 2 years, 3 years, whatever it is, but then once it expires you have to sort of do update training just to make sure you're still on top of your stuff, which I think is fantastic, just to make sure that the markers are quality, you know what they're doing.
Yeah.
And it's not just anybody who shows up off the street. So I'd be guessing that probably most of the markers here have had some sort of a training from George based on the comments that we've been getting about how high caliber, how excellent the markers are here.
Yeah, if not from George, from others.
Yeah.
Usually before any tournament, any major or even any provincial tournament, the markers will come ahead of time, a day ahead of time or whatever, and they'll have a short course on, what to do and what not to do. And I've had, there's an umpire, Alan Webster, who's measuring right now.
Okay.
I've taken some instruction from him. Yeah.
He's a notable Canadian.
Yeah.
Based out of some of the stuff I've seen in the office. He used to be a heck of a good player back in the day. I want to say that he's won national championships, possibly even represented Canada before. He's
Asia Pacific.
Yeah.
And he may have gotten a gold. I'm not 100% sure on that.
And every year that I've been working with Bowls Canada, this is the first time I've been at the indoor singles, but he's always here as an umpire.
Yeah.
Just always here.
Yeah. He's also a member of the club. It's great to have resourceful people like that. Yeah. That nice head here on
Yeah,
on the rink to the right of us.
Right here.
Yeah.
Kerry's got those yellow bowls, and Richard has the blue ones. It's a pretty tight head.
Yeah.
Good
And
bowls.
that sort of, you know, like I said before, Richard's going to be draw. So he's looking here at, I think, coming on his backhand and possibly taking the jack. Unless he comes the other way and no, that's not a good idea.
I'm gonna say the way his foot was angled there made me think he was gonna play the other hand, which didn't make much sense. So
No.
yeah, I think your only real shot here is on your backhand.
Yeah.
I see nothing on your forehand that's gonna go your way. And it was just one there, so it is currently 3-0 for Mike O'Reilly over Patrick Cote after 2 wins in the first set. And once again, Mike has a beautiful opening bowl.
Yeah.
Not like the behind.
That just puts the pressure on, and then it's up to you if you're facing him to make even a better draw ball, if you can.
I went out for dinner last night with Mike, Greg, Dave Anderson, a couple other players, and it was interesting listening to Mike talk about the value of great shot there from Patrick.
Yeah,
the value of their head coach Derek Dillon and how much he sort of wished he was here, just because he has a very relaxing effect on the players to just sort of calm you down and really get in the zone. So based on this, I don't think Mike really needs it. He looks pretty calm out there as is. But he was talking about how, as a relatively new player, it really made a difference to have the coach there to just sort of talk him down and you know, calm your nerves and just relax and play your game. So I thought that was interesting that as a, I don't know, third year, fourth year bowler, whatever Mike is, that he recognized right away that having a coach had value, and made me happy to hear that.
Yeah, no, and I think, if I remember right, Derek has bowled here before in the indoor singles. Does that sound right?
I'm not entirely sure. I know he played in the outdoor singles last year in Winnipeg. I'm not sure if I feel like he probably has been here for the indoor singles. I think he has,
because I've got I remember faces more than names, and I can, if you showed me a picture of him right now, I'd know for sure.
So I can actually go and do that.
Oh, right on.
Mr.
Okay. Patrick's just delivered another bowl jack high and about 2 feet wide, and he may be, yeah.
Quick shout out to Derek Dillon.
Yeah. Hi again, Derek. I just saw you on the computer.
He's down in Australia right now, I think, actually.
Oh yeah.
Aussie native.
Oh yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So based on the current head situation, Patrick's playing his backhand, which is interesting. I'm guessing he's trying to get in a position bowl around back behind, try to split those two green ones.
Yeah, or even if he happens to tap his, he'll move the jack sideways, which he doesn't really want to do because it's covered right now. That's a good shot, I think.
That is a good shot, but it leaves him in a tricky situation, just because now with Mike's bowl, he can try to sort of kill it or tap it, or really, like, the fact that it's locked on. Any sort of jack movement there.
But the one saving grace is that Patrick's got one more bowl, so it's always nice to have that last bowl in your pocket.
Yes, yes. So now we'll see just how aggressive Mike is as a player. He's on his forehand.
This is kind of, I find this very interesting. Jake keeps getting heckled by people as they walk by.
Oh, he's close.
Obviously, you're well known.
Yeah, some people know me, I guess. That was a great shot there from Mike, but I don't think it quite got the result that he wanted.
No.
Could still be 2 for Patrick, but now it's a much smaller area to get into the count for his last one.
Looks like Greg and Doug are almost ready to rock and roll here.
They're on rink 4. On rink 6 on the other side, it's 1-1 between Carey and Richard. Looks like most of the other men's games are just starting as well.
Yeah.
So Patrick's on his backhand here. I think that's actually kind of a riskier shot to play. I probably would have played on my forehand had I been him.
Yeah.
Just because.
Ooh,
Yikes. Yikes.
He
Got a little fortunate on that.
Yeah.
That could have been pretty risky maneuver, but
I think it. I tend to draw heavy. So when I'm trying to make a draw shot or the last shot to get another counter, I'll bowl accordingly. So I'm usually wide. Wide
right.
and so that you don't come right through the head and smash things up. But even that doesn't work sometimes.
So Patrick did pick up a 3 ball there to tie things up at 3.
Oh, nice. Very good.
3-3 after 3.
Yeah.
As always, if you want to get in touch with us, reach out to us on Facebook or Twitter at BCB Bulls on Twitter and at BCB Official on Facebook. We'd love to hear from you. Feel free to heckle David as much as you'd like.
Yeah. Well, I'm just hoping that some recruits will show up here and then then I can shirk my duties. But yeah, I can take heckling.
It looks like Patrick's figured out his line. It's just the weight that he seems to be struggling with a little bit. Not sure if you can see that down there, but Mike O'Reilly just had his hand up. I learned yesterday that's sort of a trick that Claire Day taught him, and he absolutely loved it, is for his aiming point. If you hold your hand up, and it's, I think, 4 finger widths to the left or the right of the jack, and that's sort of your aiming point. And no matter where you move the mat or move the jack or whatever, it's always the same, apparently. So that's why before he bowls, he'll put up his hand and just sort of close one eye and take a look to
get your draw line.
To get your draw line, yeah. It's a hand width to the left or right, which I thought was an interesting way to aim.
I'm just gonna have to shoot off here for a sec, Jake.
No worries. Both players fairly heavy with their first, and Patrick's made a very nice adjustment here. Just missed it on his way through, but that's a much closer bowl. Not sure if you can see, but when Patrick put the mat down, he brought it up quite a ways. It's probably halfway up, so that might be why the first 3 bowls here have been quite heavy. Just not quite used to the change in length. But it looks like Mike's made quite the adjustment here. He's got a toucher on his way through, and that's a beautiful bowl. Absolutely love that the marker is waiting to go up and chalk it until Patrick plays. That really speeds up the game nicely. On the rink to the right, Kerry Lucier is taking a 2-1 lead over Ricky. Oh, Patrick's hard after him. Just on the inside. Ouch. Still 1 to Mike, but that's a beautiful bowl. Mike needs to just play a very similar bowl. You need to get another one into the count there. Another bowl in the head. He's walking confidently down, saying slow it down. So I guess he's back around behind. Although it's not even second shot or third shot, that's actually not a bad bowl. Just because now if Patrick were to pick that shot bowl out, he'd only be down 3 instead of 4. think Patrick has quite a few options here. Just needs to play for a jack or bull through. Doesn't need to be too aggressive, but probably 3 or 4 feet heavy. The best shot would be to grab the bull with no jack movement, but if you do get the jack, that's okay too. So we'll see what he does with the last bull here. He's in the ballpark.
Yeah.
Very close. Tracking it closely. That's a beautiful bull.
Yeah, sure is.
One. Oh, he flopped the wrong way. I don't think he's going to get second shot of that, but it did get him shot. And now Mike has
one bull to come, yeah. Rink 6, which is the one to the right, is Richard Yao. He's coming in with his nice little draw shot.
I love that on the outside rink, you just saw Richard down at the far end there, propped up against the wall. You can just sort of lean and watch. That's not something you can do at most clubs.
No.
So what do you do if you're Mike in this situation? Last bull, you're down 1. Do you try to push the bull out, or you just try to like draw it off? What hand are you playing?
Well, I don't know his bulls that well. If I knew I could get inside of his
front red one?
Yeah, the front red one, I would come on. Let's see, he's right-handed, backhand. Whoops, sorry. I always have to think about that one.
And I think that's exactly what he's doing. He is playing his backhand.
Yeah. Hopefully he's just chip the jack. If he can get just inside of it. I think the pace is pretty good here if he hits the bull first.
Close.
Oh. Very good try.
Great effort.
Yeah.
So that should be at least 1 to Patrick. They'll take a look, and I don't know if they'll... Yeah, just 1.
Yeah. And back on Richard and Carey's rink. Richard's coming in. I would expect Richard to come in for another here. It's just the way he bowls. Oh, he might have just rolled out. A little unfortunate. Weight was great.
Patrick's got the mat up here a few paces again as well, so that's probably going to be a somewhat similar length to what it was last end.
Yeah, it's I like to vary the mat length when I play, but sometimes you get into a game, and I don't know if it's because you're not thinking about it or both bowlers are doing fairly well at similar length, that, you know, almost an entire game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's kind of a interesting topic. So it's dependent on who you are as a player. But I've heard some people say that once you find your length, you should stick to it and just keep doing it. But then some people say, no, you should move it around a lot just to keep your opponent off his guard, so that way they can't get comfortable. But I'm inclined to stick to what I know. So when I'm playing singles, if I'm doing well at short or long or whatever it is, then I'll just stick to it and not really change it around much.
Yeah, that sort of goes with the old saying. Well, I don't even know if it's an old saying, but are you going to bowl to your strengths or your opponent's weaknesses, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, if you bowl to your strengths, you're not changing your game, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But if you bowl to your opponent's weaknesses, you may have to change your game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's what I find interesting about that. Richard's doing that. So
and that should be shot.
it's just one of those. So far, one of those heads, and we all bowl like that. Not all the time, but
Looks like this mat placement might have really befuddled Mike. That's 2
Mhm.
holes now that are
Well past.
just well past, yeah.
Mm.
Do you find the dots very useful when you're playing here? You can see the dots every, what, 3 feet apart? 2 feet apart, whatever
Yeah,
they are?
3
3
every
feet?
meter or whatever from tee to hog line. But in a sense, yes. In a general sense, for me, yes. But some people even ask, how if you deliver the jack and it's how many dots before the tee or all that kind of stuff, and
Mm-hmm.
I think I go more by feel. So,
Mm-hmm.
uh,
Mm-hmm.
but some people really use it as an aid. It's great for centering, especially when you're marking.
Yep.
Have you ever bowled? Like I know, I think it's Australia and maybe even New Zealand, and that they quite often they'll run chalk lines
Mm-hmm.
down the green.
Mm-hmm.
So you have a center line, and then what is it, every yard or something?
Yeah, so that's interesting. That's completely dependent on the club. So the club that I've played at in Australia, Broadbeach,
Mm-hmm.
when I was there, they had chalk lines probably every 2 feet
Mm-hmm.
going from tee to hog line,
Right.
which is just because they have different centerings. So when they move the center of the rink, then you've already got the chalk line there for the center and
Right.
the out of
Right.
bounds. But it's kind of confusing, just because there's so many
Lines.
lines there to know which one is your center line. I've seen many people end up putting them out on the wrong center, and then they're like, "Hey, you're off by one of the lines, 2 of the lines, or whatever." But what actually threw me for a loop is that um, when you're playing on an outside rink, the lines stop for the last 6 feet or whatever to your left if you're on an outside rink on the left or on the right.
Right.
So I found it sort of interesting that when I'm playing on a middle rink where I'm aiming, I can sort of tell right out of my hand based
Right.
on where it is in relation to the lines. But when you're on an outside rink, those lines disappear, and it just sort of really played with my head when I was playing on an outside rink, just because
The difference.
the difference. It's not that I was necessarily looking at those lines; it was just the fact that they weren't there that really
Mm-hmm.
altered my concentration for whatever reason.
I would have thought it'd be nice to be able to see exactly how far your bowl is going out
Mm-hmm.
as compared to the edge of the rink, and just to get a good idea whether you're hitting the same line.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So we got a measurement now and a finger measurement.
Mm-hmm.
That's another thing I like doing when I
Finger
bowl.
measures?
Yeah, because I can get fairly accurate with it.
Have you ever tried to explain it to someone without actually showing them how to do it?
No,
It's
not without showing them.
It's a
no.
very tricky thing. I had someone ask me, "Well, what is it? Can you explain it?" And I was like, "Well, that's kind of something I need to show you. I can't really explain it to you. It's
Yeah,
you use your fingers and look down over top to."
to see, but it really it helps. Some people have such a good eye that they can be as accurate.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Richard's getting into a really um,
Yeah, he's found his
draw
groove.
zone. Yeah,
You can see on the rink to
He's-
the right
he's
there.
hard
his
to-
first one's locked on.
yeah, he's hard to push off once he gets like that.
And it looks like Patrick's starting to figure things out here too. That's a pretty good
Yeah.
opening bowl. Playing end number 6 in this game. Patrick's up 5-3.
Oh,
All the players are stopping here because Greg's throwing a drive on the rink to the left.
mhm. you hear the big thump at the end,
Mm-hmm.
you know that that's not the sound of success. I know from experience.
Yeah, that's something unique to this club is the sound that it makes at the back. Not too many clubs can have it echo and be so pronounced.
Yeah, the sound bothers some people, but you've also got the sound of your bowl when you're delivering, right?
Yep. Yeah. As soon as it hits the
And so that's what I think
the
that's
carpet.
what causes inadvertently causes people to have a better, smoother delivery because the sound kind of can bother you, right? If it
Mm-hmm.
goes thump thump
Yep.
every time you deliver it, yeah. But if you do it on grass, it doesn't make any
Yeah, it doesn't make a
difference.
sound, so you don't hear it.
Just the worms screaming. Uh,
Good ball there from Mike to just push Patrick back enough to take shot.
yeah, no, that's great. And Patrick's coming in on his backhand. And he's hoping to probably just touch the jack. He's in behind, which is okay.
Pretty close to the tee.
Yeah. Yeah, the tee comes into play a lot in this indoor, or it can.
It can, yes. Yes.
But I really enjoyed when it was we had the 2 spots to the side of the tee.
Oh, yes, with the three respot. You've
Yeah.
got.
Yeah, so it's like, oh yoy yoy. You have to guard against both.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a really it can be very, very interesting. Position bowls, yeah.
And Patrick's going to throw a drive at this.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting. I'm not sure if I would. Like, yeah, it's a target. Yeah, you can split them, but still very easy to draw it off, trail off. And Patrick's coming down to say, hey, just watch that head over there.
Yeah, that's where a little bit of inexperience
Yes.
has come in. I once marked a game, I think it was provincial, between Vince Mai and Tim Mason.
Mm-hmm.
And there were, now that is not the sound of success, between Vince and Tim, and there were so many drive shots. It was like I really enjoyed it because you had to be sharp.
Mm-hmm.
As a marker, you had to be really, really sharp.
Mm-hmm.
Exciting and a fast game.
Talking about the 3 different respot marks, I enjoy 3 better than 1. But I also find that that's also much harder to play good bowls with. Just because even with 1 respot, if you're playing minimum length and you have 3 locked on,
Mm-hmm.
you now kind of have to waste a bowl to get a back bowl. Whereas when there is no respot at all, you don't really have to worry about that because if you kill it, you kill it, so what? But
Yeah.
with the 3 respot, now you might have to even waste 2 bowls to cover your marks,
Right.
which is sort of, I feel like it sort of takes away from a good draw bowler's game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was once told at the club I was bowling at, Stanley Park, by this one guy. He's a really nice guy. He says, at the end of the game, he says, "That's a game for thugs." The way I was playing it, because I didn't win either, but
It's a game for thugs.
yeah, lots of drives.
I would think that Mike would have gone to cover the tee here.
Yeah. Oh, he's gone a little heavy.
A little heavy. Will he stay on?
I don't think so.
In the ditch. I'm kind of surprised that Patrick isn't going for a full-on drive again after doing it with his last, and he didn't miss by much.
I think he's got. Does he got the jack?
Oh, he's just missed on the other side.
Yeah. Well, yeah, what would I have done? Yeah, I would have gone full on
Mm-hmm.
because you can take bowls or the jack.
Bulls or jack at that
Yeah,
point.
yeah.
Yep.
Aim for the one bowl in between the jack and the other bowl and see what happens.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Can't be any worse off than you were before.
No. So the shot here, what's the shot? Oh, I'm surprised he's coming back in, but that's the way he came anyhow, right?
Yes.
Yeah. He's looking to rest on bowls or be close to the jack here.
I think he's coming up a bit short.
Yeah.
Yeah. One full dot short.
Yeah.
Looks like two from here. Patrick's gonna put a tape to, or use his fingers, I guess.
Maybe we should tell him, don't bother measuring, it's two.
Ranked next door, Richard Yau's up 7-2 over Kerry Lucier after 6. On the other side, Doug Props up 2-1 over Greg Wilson after 3. Battle of Manitoba over on rink 3, and it's 3, I think 1 for Brian Cullman over John Bjornsson.
Oh, well.
Right beside that, Dave Anderson is, I'm guessing, up 6. I can't see the other score for John Braun.
2.
6-2.
Mm-hmm.
And then down at the far end, Huron is up 4-0 over Charlie Taylor.
Yeah.
Ah, we've got a pretty big mat adjustment here from Mike.
Yeah, but
I've only put 1 on the scoreboard for Mike, give the benefit of the doubt. Could be all tied up at 5, depending on whether you got 1 or 2 there.
mm-hmm.
So we will see a close to minimum length jack here, with the mat so far up.
Yeah, it's 1, 2. Yeah, it is with the jack up. It's probably 6 feet past minimum.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. As the marker did update the scoreboard, it is actually just 5-4. So it was just 1 that last end.
Yeah.
And the mat placement sort of befuddled Mike here a little bit. He's well past.
Yeah.
And I don't think Patrick liked that at all. Walked away real quick.
Yeah. What really messes you up is when someone, especially when it's their last bowl, they deliver, turn around, pick the mat up, and start putting the mat away, and you think, oh, it's a lousy shot. And it's right on.
I've learned to never assume that. I've played so many players that end up doing that I never assume one way or the other. But what I find really frustrating is when you're playing someone and their first bowl is nowhere near, so you think, oh, I've got a big opportunity here, but then your first bowl is also nowhere near, and you think, oh, that's just a wasted opportunity that was.
Yeah. This looks like it might be close, a little narrow.
Yeah, just on the inside, but that's still probably good enough for shot. Yep, that should be it.
Yeah, it looks like Richard's got that first set well in hand on against Kerry on rink 6. And I'm not sure exactly what it is, but I think Richard picked something up there. I think he's got the jack. So it's going to be at least 8-2.
Mike is really observing this as it comes down.
Mm-hmm.
Just about jack high, not quite, but a bull short. That could probably be shot.
He's gone past the jack. I'm not sure if he's...
Yeah, that's not in the count. So this
No.
is a bit of a looser head still. Pretty open draw. Both players have been struggling to find that perfect line and weight combo.
And you did say looser head, right?
Yes.
Not loser head.
Not yet.
No.
Not yet anyway.
It's funny how that things can get into your head. I'm not saying I'm not I'm not trying to give them a hard time about the bowling, but sometimes that the idea just jumps into your head is what happens to me, right?
I will say, as you said earlier, playing on this really helps your delivery because you don't hear that thump thump as people deliver. Every
Yeah.
game that I've been watching here, everybody has such a smooth delivery that I haven't been able to hear anything when they release the bowl. It's just
Yeah.
right on the carpet.
Yeah. And I think that's maybe in a roundabout way what pushes some of the more senior bowlers away. It depends on how thick your skin is, but
Mm-hmm.
some of them drop it, or you just can't get down after a while. I mean, let's face it, it's a matter of aging and physics, and
Mm-hmm.
so the noise, you can hear it.
Yes. Yes.
Just watching the last delivery here. It looks like it's tight, maybe.
Yeah, I think that's tight, but he might grab the white on his way through. He did.
Yeah. Picked up 2 or 3.
Yeah, 2 for sure. I'd guess maybe 3 on that. It's a really good trail.
Yeah. Excellent weight control on that.
Mm-hmm. I think that might have been sort of a game-changing shot for the set, just
Yeah.
because picking up 2 or 3 there after 7 ends means you've got a 3-4 point lead. Yeah, 4 point lead with 2 to go.
Mm-hmm. And sometimes I don't have the right strategy for being 4 behind with 2 to go, because I'm always thinking, oh, I gotta get it all back this end, right? Or or at least 3, or
Yeah.
at worst 2.
Mhm.
But really, all you need is 1.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And get the mat.
Really puts Pat in the driver's seat here, just because all you need to do is count
Yeah.
to secure the set, or even if you only give up 1, then you've still given yourself a really good shot going to that last end with a 3-point lead too. So
Mm-hmm. And it's another nice.
that's a pretty good
first
opening
bowl.
bowl.
Yeah. Not quite covering the jack, but pretty close. Just looking at 6 here. There it is. Okay.
Big thanks to our partners and sponsors, the Government of Canada through Sport Canada, the Coaching Association of Canada, and Kukri, our official clothing supplier.
Right on.
That's a pretty good second shot from Patrick. Probably
Yeah.
wished it would have finished another 6 to 8 inches or so to really get behind. But
Yeah. If it had, it would have been almost ideal first 2 bowls, really.
Mm-hmm. But at least he's behind the jack, so it doesn't really give much for Mike to use. He could rest on it for a second shot, but wouldn't get a shot out of it. Left a nice little port there, and Mike just went through.
Yeah. Not so bad, though. He's past the jack. You just keep working on it.
Mm-hmm. Sets him up for later on in the end. If he grabs the jack on his way through, he could count a couple. Patrick's played almost the same bowl here twice. That's pretty consistent bowls.
Yeah, it is.
That's a dangerous spot to be in now, though. That gives something Mike can rest off of in and possibly even get shot out of. Also makes that port a little bit smaller, so now it's a little bit easier for Mike to play a little bit more aggressive at this.
Which he just did. As he got the line.
He's in the ballpark.
Unfortunately. Well, he might be down. Is it possibly one?
I think he's just down one now, so it did help his cause, but I'm sure he was hoping for a slightly better result on that to get a bigger chunk of it.
Yeah.
Right to our left, we've got Mr. Wilson. I thought was throwing a drive as all the players stopped and stood to the side, and it's really not much of a drive at all. Pretty wide open draw here. I'm curious what Patrick's thinking about it. I guess maybe he's considering covering the spot.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think I would probably try to get a bit of a back pull, split those two greens if I could, just because you don't want to leave Mike an opportunity to pick up three here.
Yeah. And it would be really difficult for him to improve his position in the count there too, because you'd have to chip the jack straight sideways.
On the drive over this morning, he was saying that he was kind of disappointed with his first two games just because he gave up so many points, and so it really hurt his plus minus. So I'm curious if he's thinking about that, thinking he needs to maximize on points as much as I can here, or if he's just thinking about just need to win the set. And based on that bowl, I think
that's a good bowl.
Just thinking I need to win the set, and that's a really good bowl.
It is. He may have the tee. Looks like it.
He's got the tee and he's got those two greens split. So now it's just a small trail, I think, for Mike is really all that he can do to try to get two out of this.
But he still needs to think that he really only needs one. See, he's down one right now, eh? Yeah, he's down one. I don't know. I'd just go for a draw shot there, maybe.
Yeah, I would go for just a draw. Try to move the jack a couple inches.
Yeah, towards your
back green one there. Just a couple inches. So not much more than a draw. Either hand, really.
Yeah, and it's not. It's what is it? A 3 foot. He has to be within 3 feet of the jack to be shot, maybe.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
No, he's going to throw weight, maybe. It looks like it.
Yeah, the way he warmed up there with a couple of practice swings. Is he throwing weight at this? I'll be shocked if he is, because that's a bare jack target. He is.
Yeah.
Is he trying to pick the bowl?
Maybe.
I think he might be. Well, almost got a result out of it, but...
Yeah. Fool us all.
Yeah. Going for a triple, maybe. Try to triple all three of those red ones out. That's a interesting strategy. I think Patrick picked up three there to guarantee the set.
And they've got the umpire measuring for shot on Rick 6 between Richard and Carey. That's Richard. So that ensures a set for him.
Yeah, that would make it 8-3
after 8.
Richard over Carey in their first set next door. slightly shorter length again, mats up, but jack is also shorter than it was last time going this direction too.
Yeah.
But it's clearly to Patrick's liking. That's a pretty good opening bowl.
Indoor, I prefer to bowl short.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know why. It's a comfort zone, and short to the ditch, short to the tee. But my jack throwing isn't so great.
That's interesting. That's something that
You don't see much of it.
a lot of people, I think, would do well to just go and grab 5, 6, 7 jacks and go and just practice jack throwing before a singles tournament.
Yeah.
Just 'cause the amount of times I've played singles and seen people throw jacks in the ditch or out of bounds or whatever.
Yeah. And a lot of it's just like when it's that short, it's hard to throw it out of bounds.
Mm-hmm.
But it's usually in the ditch, right? For me, I just get that little extra bit of adrenaline.
I also like to play short, and I had this chat with Charlie yesterday when he hopped on for a bit about how each club in Canada you go to, they all have different lengths. So whether it's 120 feet or 110 feet or 108 feet. And I remember when I first started bowling, my home club I think is only 108 feet, but then the club I played at in Ottawa was 128.
Right.
So tee to tee is just drastically different no matter where you go. But when you're playing min-length, it's the same distance no matter what. So that's why I enjoy playing short, just because I know it's the same no matter what club I go to.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, I believe at Kerrisdale we're longer, but I'm not exactly sure what the numbers are. But ours is a bit longer than most.
Really makes a difference when you're trying to play that tee to tee game to switch club to club, because then you might be coming up 8 feet short, or you might be 10 feet heavy and in the ditch. So.
But I tend to find that a lot of people here, at club level, are constant, because I guess it's because the greens are fast, but they're constantly practicing tee to tee, tee to tee, tee to tee. They'll go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and they're just deadly at it. They can do it with their eyes closed. But once you take them off that length, it's difficult for them to adjust.
I commented on this, I think, last year, maybe even 2 years ago, about from my observation, I find that people in the West, especially in BC, tend to play tee to tee, whereas people in the East, especially in Ontario, they tend to play sort of mid-length, maybe even short length, which I found is just sort of interesting that style just seems to be more pronounced, I guess.
Yeah, and I think I just have a feeling some of it's just on how they practice too. That seems to be the comfort zone. But yeah, I really like short.
As do I. The only downside with short is that it's so much easier for someone to throw a drive at.
Yeah, hit the jack.
Yeah.
Whatever. Yeah. Yeah, you do leave yourself kind of vulnerable that way. So that's the first set over between Kerry and
Richard.
Richard, thank you.
And this first set is just about done here too, as Mike's delivered the last bowl, looking to grab the jack on his way through, and he got it. That's a beautiful bowl.
Yeah, great shot.
Patrick was lying 3.
So that's a bit of a confidence booster for him on the next one. The only thing that messes me up with sets is, like, if I was Mike there, it's like, I finally got the mat.
But no, you don't.
No, you don't.
No, you don't. It's the winner of the set that gets the mat. Yep. That is sort of a unfortunate part of playing sets.
Yeah. I find that's because you're working that, especially if you're behind a fair amount. You're working to try and get back into it, and then you still don't have the mat. But that just means you got to work
that much harder.
Yeah, on the next end. Just looking across here, and Charlie runs 13-0 over Charlie, and Charlie's kind of walked into a bit of a wasp's nest, I think, because I think Huron might have dropped 2 yesterday, so he really needs to win all his next games to be in the final game. So he's probably really focused on that right now. And John and David are in the middle rink.
Looks like
David's ahead
9-4.
9-4 after 8. So that set will go to
And
David.
Brian Coleman is up 5-4 over John Bjornsson in the Battle of Manitoba.
Yeah. I wonder if Brian has an advantage over other people bowling against John. Are they from the same club? You know?
I don't think so. I think Brian's from Tuxedo and John's from Norwood, but there's so few clubs in Manitoba that they're probably competing against each other on a regular basis anyway.
Yeah. Let's put it this way. I don't think Brian would be intimidated by John.
No, yeah, I wouldn't think so.
Yeah. So that's makes him play a little more relaxed.
Yeah, he might have some tricks up his sleeve too. He might have found from playing against John so many times that he has a secret weapon of how to beat him or how to get in his head or something like that.
Yeah.
I know I have that advantage whenever I play against my dad. Since I've been playing for, 17 years, he's been playing for 18 or whatever it is, but since I played with him for so long, I know his style perfectly, so I know exactly what he's going to do before he does it, so when I play against him, I can sort of counter that before he even rolls a bowl. So when you get familiar with people, it really gives you a bit of an advantage, I think.
Yeah, I think so too.
Rink next door, Doug Props up 5-3 over Greg Wilson after 7, although Greg is lying 1 at the moment.
Yeah, I think he's turning a corner here. It's hard to say. He had 2 ends ago when he was down here, he had 4 bowls that were really well grouped, but they were short of the jack, right? So and he dropped that end, but it just shows that I think he's honing in.
Finding his groove.
Yeah, we'll find out.
Yeah, so that would make it a 1-point game going to the last end of the first set over there for Doug Prop up 5-4 over Greg. That's a good game.
Oh, Richard just made a great shot against Carey here, and he rolled his bowl in and for shot. And they are at the beginning of the second set, first end.
Ooh, Mike just went through the port there. Still 1 for Patrick.
A lot of back bowls in that head, so it can work out for either of them. Patrick's following his bowl down a bit. It looks like it should be in for shot, maybe.
Yeah, that should be good for 2.
Oh, nice shot.
Beautiful bowl. Because that flopped over, I'd be tempted to maybe throw some weight at that, but...
Well, he's still got the back bowls, eh?
Yeah, might be better not to throw weight then. Might be better to just try to get a trail.
Yeah. That's what I would be inclined to try. Oh, he's looking at weight again. Yeah. These guys always... Why doesn't everyone think like me? How you doing?
Good.
Yeah. So he threw weight at it. Down 2. And it looks like on 6 there's a bit of weight coming.
That is much more control than I was expecting from Carey.
Yeah. Almost. It's really close.
Yeah, you got it.
Oh,
Fortunately, I think he went too far, and I think it's still one for Richard, but
yeah.
good shot nonetheless.
Okay. Patrick's away after having won the. Well, that's just this is the second end now. Yeah. So he's up 2-1 after first end, and it looks like he's put a really good draw shot in there. Maybe a little narrow.
Yeah, that's a pretty good opening bowl. Really good weight.
Yeah.
He was telling me when we first showed up here that it's such a adjustment to play on this compared to anything back in Ontario. So the first few days he was just really struggling with weight control. But based off how this game's going, I think he's finally settled in here now and has found his groove, so to speak. He's
Yeah.
playing pretty consistent.
And that's always going to be the challenge for out of province bowlers.
Mm-hmm.
It's just unfortunately just the way it is.
Yeah.
I don't if I had to come here, and especially the first time I came here, I would just be like,
what is bowls?
how come my bowls are in the ditch all the time?
Yeah, that is so many stories. I remember growing up, people who'd been down to Australia, New Zealand said their first bowl was such a thud in the ditch because it's so much faster. But once you actually get used to playing on faster surfaces, it takes a little while to adjust, but not
long.
Not that long. You can figure it out pretty quick.
I'm still not very good at it. I've had 4 or 5 years, which you would think, yeah, I'm not bad at it. But I see a lot of these people who have been bowling for years and years, and they'll just come to the indoors first time off, and they'll roll their first bowl close to the tee, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whereas everyone else is
Just
20 feet past.
thud, 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 thud.
Yeah.
Do you find it easier to adjust to a faster surface or a slower surface?
I'd almost have to say slower, because that's what I was used to bowling on so much, right? So it's almost like
second nature.
You come back home, right?
Yeah.
This is a slower one, but I love the faster service.
Yep.
So it's like you just have to somehow recalibrate your delivery and your throws to the point where you can. It's more finite when you bowl indoor. You have to be. The difference between. If you bowl and the weight is the big thing. It's a huge thing.
I think for me, because I'm in a very similar boat. I grew up on slow greens, but I love a fast surface. But I think it's easier to get close on a slow surface.
Yeah.
But it's easier to roll a toucher on a fast surface.
Yeah. And it's a little. It used to annoy me. Now I find it a little bit hilarious. Is when you first go from, like, after the winter, we'll in springtime we'll start bowling outdoor again, and it's like some people start practicing tee to tee, and I bowl for at least a week on short jacks, right? Because I just know that I'm going to do something to myself.
Yep. I made that mistake when I first came back from Australia. After playing there for 2 weeks, I came back home to Ontario and played on a very thick grass, slow surface in Ontario. And after, I think, like 4 ends, I threw my back out or something like that. Because it was just
too much.
Nowhere near the same.
No. Looks like Richard came in for another shot, but on 6, but Kerry's still got the last bowl, and what are we at for a score there? Oh, Patrick's got the mat again, so Patrick seems to be well in form right now.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of, I think getting a mat length that's good for him.
Yeah, I think this length suits him well. So we got a question coming in from our operations and communications coordinator back in Ottawa.
Mm-hmm.
Matt's asking, are there any surprises this year? That's an interesting question. So looking around at the standings, I can't say I'm really surprised, at least on the men's side, who's in the top half. That's pretty
Well,
much exactly who I would have expected.
Yeah.
I am a little surprised that John's the only one that's undefeated still. I guess I probably would have expected Huron to be undefeated or
Yeah.
maybe 5-1.
Yeah.
So it's not really a big surprise by any means. It's pretty similar on the women's side. Not a huge surprise either for who's where they are.
Yeah. Yeah. Josephine is usually
Mm-hmm.
a finalist, but she's still, well within.
Well within striking distance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm not surprised on where they are.
Mm-hmm.
But boy, that is really close because you look at the ladies. Well, I don't know what it is. Is this the updated one?
No, they're still waiting for the.
Okay, so before this morning, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of the 10 ladies are all at identical 500 records, 2 and 2.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
The top two are at 4 and 0, and the bottom two are 0 and 4. Yeah, so it's very unusual, I would think, in standings. So that means there's a lot of people in the mix.
It is a little bit of a surprise, I guess, that there's not any men that are 2 and 4. I'm just thinking that there's 1, 2, 3, 4 that are 4 and 2, and 4 that are 3 and 3. So there's 8 people all within one game of each other
Mm-hmm.
on the men's side. So I would have expected a little more
Spread on
a little more spread, a few more people at 1 and 5 or 2 and 4.
Yeah.
But I'm sure that by the end of the week that's going to change and it will
Oh,
shake
for
out.
sure. Yeah. 5 more games, pressure's on.
Mm-hmm.
And probably it also depends on who you played in the first half.
Yeah,
too, eh?
exactly. I was going to say the draw makes a big difference too, because you might have had I don't want to say an easier or a harder, but just depending on who you've played, how warmed up they were.
Right.
That's a great pull from Patrick.
Yeah.
That is one thing I do like about this event, though, is that it's a full round robin, so you get to play everybody once.
Yeah. There's 2 things. There's that, so there's no excuses of being in the group of death. Or
Right.
whatever. And the other one is that it's a true surface.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't
Can't blame the
you
green.
can't say, oh, I played that guy on a rainy day and
Mm-hmm.
that kind of stuff. So
Mhm.
it's quite it's very stable. The bowling environment's stable. The only thing that makes the green speed change is the temperature.
Mm-hmm.
And how does that go? When it's for some reason I thought intuitively it was opposite of what I thought it would be, but I know that in the morning it's quicker.
Mm-hmm.
But that may be because it's cooler.
The colder it is, the faster
Yeah.
it gets, is I think how
Yeah,
that goes.
it's and it's got nothing to do with the actual air temperature or humidity too much or anything. It's that the cold affects the carpet and the underlay. Right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I do remember when I was here 2 years ago for the North American Challenge that there was, I think, 3 days of practice before the event started, and so during one of the days, Vince went and put the AC on just to change the temperature of the carpet, cool things down, and it made a sort of drastic difference in green
Yeah.
speed.
Yeah.
And wowza, what a bowl from Patrick, but
Wow.
also that's sort of an unfortunate result because now that opens it up for an easier shot for Mike than what it was.
Yeah. Richard's holding the wall up there. have a measurement.
Yeah, they called for the umpire over on Greg and Doug's rink just to wedge a bowl. It's going to fall. And that's the danger of
Oh yeah.
what Patrick just did.
Yeah.
Great
just
shot from
into
Mike.
the pocket, and his shooter stayed. Yeah. Oh, sorry, I got them backwards. Yeah, that was unfortunate.
So that will be 2 shots to Mike O'Reilly to get him on the board to make it 5-2 in this set. Sorry, I didn't update the scoreboard for the last end. And you can see there that Mike has got the mat up a fair pace.
Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's if he bowls to the tee, it's a mid-length jack from where he's got them at.
It makes me happy to see this. There's a lot of mat movement here because at the outdoor singles in Regina, hardly anybody ever moved the mat, and it just sort of frustrated and infuriated me because seeing people get their butts handed to them, and then when they did finally get the mat, they just kept it there. I'm thinking, what are you doing? Why don't you change the length, change something up? And
Yeah, you gotta.
Everybody was just playing at the same location. There was maybe 2 or 3 games that I saw where people actually moved around, but hardly anybody did, and I didn't understand why.
Yeah, and with me, even if I find a length that I'm fairly comfortable with, I will change. Every once in a while, I'll change it. I don't know if that's a good thing or not, but it's just like it.
Get bored with the same old thing?
Yeah, I think so. Oh, Richard's coming in with his last shot here, and on 6, and he's just pulled up short. Bumped him in for another. Looks like there's 3 there for Carey.
It's a pretty good opening ball there from Patrick. I guess the change in length didn't affect him any.
No, he seems to be. That seems to be one of his real strengths in this game so far, is to roll in a decent first bowl.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what the final score was between Charlie and Horan, but
Horan took the first set anyway.
yeah, I was just wondering if Charlie got any points on that, any pushback. But now it's after 2 ends, Horan's up 5-0, 5-0. And
Dave Anderson took the first set over John Braun.
yeah,
They're just into their second set now. And Patrick Cote is just bowling lights out right now. That is a brilliant 2 bowls, 1 in front, 1 behind.
yeah.
And the fact that he's got the tee cover too makes this really tough for Mike right now. You can see the tees only
Yeah.
a few inches away from Patrick's last bowl.
You've been cheating all along.
Benefits of having the camera angle where it is. Ah, here's a great shot from Mike.
Did he get shot?
I think he got shot out of that.
He's asking for.
Patrick's asking for confirmation from the marker.
Yeah.
And the marker's going to take a look.
Patrick's going to take a look.
Ah, marker's favoring Patrick. Interesting. Do you find it frustrates you when you have 2 brilliant bowls and your opponent comes down and makes 1 shot and takes it away from you?
Yeah. But if it's a good shot, it doesn't frustrate me as much. If it's a
Unfortunate.
fluke,
fluke?
yeah, and especially if they don't apologize for it.
That's such an interesting comment that you made, just because when I was in Australia playing against different countries and just sort of the mannerisms, there was a guy from Ireland that I played against and roomed with, and I guess it's not just customary to apologize, but it's actually expected that you apologize if you get a wick or a fortunate rub. And if you don't apologize, it's actually like almost offensive. And he got super pissed off because he was playing, I can't remember what country, maybe Hong Kong or Malaysia, I don't remember. But they got a really good rub and got a really fortunate result and didn't apologize, and it just sort of blew him up that that person didn't say sorry,
Yeah.
which I thought is just interesting because growing up I was never taught that you apologize for stuff like that. You just sort of shake your head and walk away. So
Yeah.
um, yeah,
Well,
the
I
customary thing is just different country to country and place to place. So I don't know if there's a fantastic shot, Patrick.
yeah, nice shot.
So is it sort of expected here that you apologize for a wick,
I
a
don't
rub,
know
or
if it is or not really, but I think more often than not, people apologize. Yeah, it's just kind of, with me, I apologize almost through embarrassment.
Mhm.
I missed my shot.
Yeah, I was nowhere near. I apologize.
But I guess sometimes people don't want to either admit it or show any weakness, or I don't know what it is. But
It was actually a very interesting year that I was in Australia for the World Youth Championships because the two reps from Scotland stayed down there, relocated, and currently both work for the Broadbeach Club now. And the Irish fellow also moved down there and now is, I believe, an employee of the Warilla Bulls Club, which is where the World Cup is. So the winner of this will be going to that club in March. So of the 24 athletes, or however many there were of us, 3 of them are now permanently in Australia, despite not originally being from there, which I thought was just kind of interesting that Bulls got them
so hooked.
and got them employment down there too, which
Yeah,
is really cool.
There's not a lot of places
Hmm.
where you can. I'm guessing can get employment through Bulls. It's, the jobs are very few.
Yes.
So, yeah, interesting. And you look at a lot of our better or best bowlers are expats now.
Yep.
You know,
And I hear a lot of flack about that from bowlers in Canada, and I'd love to just sort of point them to other sports.
Yeah.
Because in every other sport, it's the exact same thing. If you're want to be a really good, skier or
Yeah, you
luger or
gotta
whatever,
go
you
somewhere.
got to go somewhere to train.
Yeah.
There's so many times people will be in another country for 7 to 8 months leading up to a major games to, train in the environment and actually be there for it. So bowls is no different from any other sport where if you want to be the best, you got to go and train in the environment where
Yeah.
you can be.
Exactly. Yeah, and you can't begrudge anyone else for doing it, really. I mean, you can, but
Yeah, really shouldn't be.
no. So Patrick seems to be rolling along here.
Very well, yeah.
Michael's got a. Yeah, Mike. Sorry, I'm terrible with names.
Well, Michael, Mike, same thing.
He's. I think right about now he's going to have to try and turn the corner. But it's hard. It's hard when someone else is bowling
It
really,
is hard.
really well.
It's also interesting, maybe frustrating, that he started off the first set so well. I want to say the first 3-4 ends, Mike was just all over it, and Patrick was really struggling, and Patrick still came away with that first set. So that's kind of frustrating to know that you bowled really well for the start of a game and didn't get anything out of it.
Yeah, and Patrick's left a bit of an opening here.
Yeah, this is a very loose opening ball from Patrick based off of last end.
But he's found the tee, which may come in to help him later on. Uh-oh. Well, he stayed up. So both of them have thrown long.
Big window of opportunity for both players. Who can be the first one to get it close?
Yeah.
I think Patrick's coming up
short.
short.
Yeah.
Still big window of opportunity here.
Yeah. 2 meters. Mm.
This is where I really get excited when I'm a player to think, oh wow, he's nowhere near. I have a huge opportunity to lock one on and put pressure on him. This is where generally I'll make my best shots just because I'm now excited and see that opportunity.
Yeah, and see they're nailing the green right now,
Yeah, their line's been perfect.
and I know why. The other side's unpredictable,
Mhm.
so they're bowling on the predictable side. Let's put it that way. Yeah. But even so, it's still a very good line.
Is it the same going the other direction? That
No,
no?
no, no. It's so different, and it's just little things, right? They're nothing huge, but if you don't, some of them it's even hard to tell exactly where. And certain bowls will, types of bowls will draw a little more, or
Mhm.
you know, and there's the odd run.
Mhm.
And if you get on a bowl that like a wide drawing bowl, it's like outdoor. It'll go across the run, out, and then back across the run, and the run might grab it a little bit, right? But if you use a narrower bowl, it'll hit the run, and it can't quite
Can't quite get out.
get out. Yeah. But they're looking at replacing the cart, or flipping it first, I believe.
Okay.
Um,
Gonna say
at some point in time, I don't know exactly when. Obviously, we have to have the money to do it.
Right.
And apparently, it's been successful in other places.
Okay.
Although the carpet will still be worn in the same place, because when you go to flip it, even if you flip it from side to side like
Yep.
that, you're going to be still in the same spot. And the carpet has got wool in it. Like a lot of people think it's synthetic, right?
It's got wool in it. Interesting.
Yeah, yeah. And so that's why we have to be really, really careful
Mhm.
with footwear and stuff like that.
I'm told that this carpet's been, what, 14 years old, I think?
I'm really not sure, but that sounds about right.
Which is huge because I believe carpets are only expected to last 7 to 10 years or something like that. So this has effectively lasted double
Mm-hmm.
what the life expectancy is of a carpet. So that's super duper impressive.
Yeah. Oh, it looks like Richard's on 6. He's lane 2, and Kerry's about to deliver his final one. And down comes Patrick's bowl. Try and pick another one up.
Well, that's a pretty good bowl.
Right onto the green.
Yeah, that'll be good for 2.
Yeah. And
Mike has one
Mike's
left here.
one more. Yeah.
Still pretty easy to draw for 1, I would think, on either hand.
Well, really close in the measure there. Richard's got 2 maybe?
Mhm. So Mike is sticking with the backhand here to play that swoopy, unpredictable hand.
Yeah. If he hasn't figured it out, he'll come narrow.
Yeah, I think he is a little bit narrow, but he's not
Yeah,
far away.
not
That's still
bad.
probably good for shot.
Yeah.
Yeah, only a bull, just a bull narrow.
You got her pretty good there. Those are narrow bowls too, eh? I wonder
Mhm.
what they are. One of these days, I'll get my act together.
Well,
It's just that I have a real interest in
Mhm.
how the different bowls, you know, how they respond.
They're definitely a Henselite.
Oh,
Because
if they're Henselite, they're well, they've got one that's narrower than the Dreamline XG, but I'm not sure. don't know if I have it on my computer, but I had a bowls chart that had all the different bowls.
There's the Cruise, the Dreamline XG, the Fusion, AFL, Classic 2, Classic TRL, Tiger, Tiger 2, and Tiger Pro. So I'd be guessing the Cruise would probably be the narrowest model.
Yeah, I gotta, whoops, go back. I lost it. Yeah, I'm just looking it up here, but I lost my. Let's do this. So what's happening here? Mike's just throwing his second bowl. He's got two really good bowls in there. Well, actually, that one's short. Holding at least one.
Hanselite does have the ABT model as well. I remember.
Yeah, ABT Evo or something like that.
Yeah, I've played with those a couple times. They're fairly narrow. Oh, Mike just played around that front bowl. That's a well-played bowl.
Yeah. Yeah, he's trying to turn the screws in a little bit and then get back.
Back into the set here.
Points, yeah.
This is end number 6 they're playing. 9-3 for Patrick over Mike. Ooh, that might have taken shot. Currently 5-0 for Doug Prop over Greg in the second set over there. 4-3 for Kerry Lucier over Richard Yao. Second set as well.
Yeah, Richard won the first. And I think he's sitting maybe two. It's hard to say. Kerry's got the last bowl.
Heren's up 5-2 over Charlie Taylor in the second set.
Oh, right on, Charlie. You're on the board. Now take it to him. I can't have any favorites here. So. Can't quite see what John's score is there, but he should be ahead by quite a bit. Yeah, 13-1. So he's feeling his mojo now. So
You're talking about John Braun over Dave Anderson?
Yeah, 13-1 in the second set after 5 ends.
Yikes.
Yeah.
That means he scored 13 points in 4 ends.
Yeah.
Yow.
Yeah. And, you know, if he keeps it up, that'll give him a lot of momentum for the tiebreak if it comes to that, which it probably will.
Yeah, the tiebreak is such a funny thing. If you can carry your momentum over, that's a good thing. But so many people struggle to do that because, you know, the pressure builds.
Well, yeah, and it could be that you're spending an entire set
Mm-hmm.
just trying to get back into it,
Mm-hmm.
right? That takes a lot of, you know.
Mental
Oh
capacity.
yeah.
That's a pretty good effort from Patrick.
Wonder what the result is.
Both taking a good hard look at it. Well, I know that Patrick got at least one out of it. Whether he got two or can't say. After 6 ends, it's either 10-3 or 11-3.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's going to be difficult.
Mm-hmm.
Not impossible, though, I don't think. Haven't really.
It's so tricky when you're playing sets too, because if you lose the first set, you have to win the second one. You can't just tie it, which just makes it that much harder.
Yeah, yeah. And for me, the problem I have is if I get behind or
Mhm.
way behind,
Mhm.
and you know it's mathematically impossible to take the set and, you know, get a win out of the thing, then I just kind of go.
Yep. It's hard to stay
I,
focused.
I think to myself sometimes, and you should never think this way. I'm not suggesting that anyone does, but sometimes I just think I wish I could just give them 4 points and end for the last 2 ends, and then just walk off the green because I.
Definitely wouldn't help your plus minus, but I mean, it
No.
would get you off the green quicker.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe that's why I'm sitting there, here and there. That could have something to do with it. Oh, Richards come just in behind on 6, and another nice draw from Mike.
Mhm. They're playing this swoopy, unpredictable hand, but they're doing it fairly well. That's a
Yeah.
great shot from Patrick. Holy smokes.
Yeah, they probably got it figured out. Until you do, especially with wide bowls. Wide bowls, you can miss your green by 3 feet, 4 feet.
Mm-hmm.
See what happens here. He's going to make contact somewhere.
Not setting up to be a very pretty head here for Mike, and this is tricky because this is end number 7, so you really need to count here if you have any chance of getting back into the set and forcing a tiebreak.
Mm-hmm.
I would probably switch hands if I were Mike with my next bowl, and if I'm Patrick, just keep plugging away. You don't really need to change much. You've already got the best back bowl at the moment, so you don't really need to worry about covering the tee.
No.
Wowza.
Oh,
Wowza.
yeah. That'll split. And the jack will probably stay where it is. I think.
That's the way that's lined up, depending on how you can see that from the mat.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious how he throws into that, because if you get the green on, then yeah, they'll split. But if you play the other hand,
If he plays forehand, I think if he comes in and hits that red, it'll split.
I think the first red, the top red, would stay.
You think so?
I don't think it would go too far.
Yeah. I can't see how close together they are either.
But I'd be tempted to play the backhand onto my green.
Yeah.
Green in.
Here he comes.
He's playing the forehand, and I think he is a little inside. He might be onto the green. Yeah. Away they go.
So he's still down.
If you want to watch it again, we've got a nice little replay
Yeah,
here.
should.
good collision.
Really opened it up, at least.
Mm-hmm. So I'm a big fan of not needlessly knowing what the count is, as you saw Patrick go around there and measure. Some people need to know, am I shot or am I not? But for me, the way I play, I don't really care because I know what shot I'm playing. And
Yeah.
right now it's such a wide open draw. I don't care if I'm up one or down one. It doesn't change my shot either way. I'm just
No.
drawing right now. It's not like I'm gonna trail or drive or anything here. It's just a draw.
Yeah, and you just have to decide which way you want to draw.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And obviously you're going to draw towards your bulls would be the best.
And I've had so many people say, "Oh, well, I can't focus. I need to know if I'm shot or not," and that just sort of befuddles my mind. I don't understand why people need to know the score or the count or anything like that. Like,
Yeah.
it shouldn't change your shot, so why does it matter?
No, I'm with you on that. And I almost wish they had. I can't think of how many, but let's say in the two ends
Mm-hmm.
with the, or sorry, two sets with the tie break. Say maximum 5 head visits
I
per
would
set.
I would love to have something like that. That sounds great.
Yeah, because it'll, a lot of it's needless. It's
Mm-hmm.
I think anyhow.
I agree 100%. I agree
It
100%.
speeds things up as well.
When we implemented the change this year for fours, where the vice has to now stand down at the mat and can't be down with the skip, that saved a ridiculous amount of time because now you don't have vices walking up and down needlessly. But
Right.
the amount of complaints I got from people saying they like to have the vice up there with the skip, I think, is just utter rubbish.
Yeah. Yeah. There. I don't know. Got to keep the game moving.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Exciting is nice when it can be exciting, and exciting can be a really good draw. It could be a heavy drive shot.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. 5 visits to the head per set. I think that's a great idea.
Yeah. Yeah, something like that.
It'd be up to the
I tried to play, except he wouldn't do it. I think it was in plate triples, and my opponent, I could mention his name, I guess it was Tim Mason. It was I believe it was triples, and I said, let's play, and we'll have no head visits.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely none. And I could tell he was kind of wanted to do it, but then he didn't want to have to go back on his word. But he's a very fast bowler too. So
Yep.
yeah.
Yep. I would like that too, to have no head visits. I think that would be a great way to speed up the game too.
Yeah. But somehow some people, I think it's the way they visualize things.
Mm-hmm.
And I think some people visualize things better if they're down at the end where the head is and they can see their bowl coming in. I think that's how they see it, and it makes more sense to them. And then and then they work it back to where the mat is, but doesn't work for me. And if I was accurate, I could suggest certain things.
So it's 11-3 with 2 ends to go, meaning that this game is done. And yeah, Mike just shook his hand saying, good game. It's over here. The best I can do is a tie, which isn't going to cut it. So now we're just playing for the plus minus.
Yeah, and I still have an issue with having to play the sets out.
I do too. I don't think it really encourages good competition. And I remember when I was on the board for Ontario Lawn Bowls Association back in the day, I argued this point as well, saying, why do we force people to play a game that means nothing?
Yeah. The points, somehow, I haven't looked at it, I haven't studied it, but somehow that the points for and against have to come out of the equation. And once you do that, then it doesn't matter. Then you shake hands after 7 ends or whatever, 8 or 6.
Hmm.
Yeah,
One option might be that if it's mathematically impossible to win, then you just give both players, you know, 2 points per end or whatever for the rest
right.
of the game, so that way they don't have to play, and it still racks up their score sheet or whatever.
Yeah,
Just because it's almost impossible to say that both players are still as focused as they were in the first set right now, just because they both know the game's over.
right.
And yeah, everybody says you still need to play to your best ability, but just the amount of concentration and focus right now, even though you're still probably trying to roll good bowls, it's just not the same.
No. No, and I don't like being on either end of it. Like,
No, yeah.
if I'm the one that's losing, it's really difficult to, you know, I'm thinking about the next game.
Hmm.
I'm not thinking about finishing this one. I'm thinking about the next game already. And also, I don't like to, for the sake of running the score up, to run the score up. I
Yep.
just,
Doesn't really encourage good competition.
no.
But here's another question, I guess, for you.
Mm-hmm.
We do this at majors, we do this here, full round robin, and people like that 'cause you get to play everybody once. But second last game, third last game, there's a lot of meaningless games where people are, 0-7, have no chance of winning, and you might end up playing someone who's also 0-7, in which case you can't even play spoiler.
Right.
So what's the point of that game?
Yeah, exactly.
And
Yeah.
that's something I don't really know how to.
Well, you see, I've been in that position a few times. So I know what it's like. I think what happens is some people are never in that position or very
Mhm.
seldom in that position, so they
Mhm.
don't see that viewpoint.
Mm-hmm.
That's a possibility. I don't know.
Because I understand that everybody likes to play round robin because you want to play everybody once, and I like that.
Mhm.
Because if you are split into groups, or I don't know how else you could really do it, maybe a double knockout or something. If you're split into groups, you don't get to play everybody, and then you argue pool of death or whatever. And if you have double knockout, well, then you could have spent all that money to get here, play 2 games, and you head back home.
Yeah.
So nobody likes that either. But there is no perfect solution to this.
No,
I
there
don't
is
think.
no perfect
But
solution.
personally, I'm just not a fan of seeing at every event we go to, no matter who it is, playing round robin, last game, second last game, there are bound to be pointless games.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's the nature of the beast, I guess, in a way. I used, when I first started playing in any kind of competitive stuff, it was double knockout,
Mm-hmm.
and I was so obviously lost my first 2 games, and I'm going, it's over. It's over. It just started. It's over. And then I've done some round robin stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and now I'm starting to think that maybe the double knockout is the better thing,
That's what I think. I think a true double knockout is better.
because you're just pedal to the metal.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah.
have no choice.
Yeah. Yep.
You know, unless you're undefeated and it's your last game, and
Yeah,
you still
and
have to play for the championship.
Yeah,
and
and someone has to beat you twice then. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think double knockout is the way to go. But it's just tricky because for something like this,
Yeah, people come a long way
yeah,
too.
how do you justify trying to get people to come out here to play 2 games and head back home?
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if we could maybe play with that a bit and have sort of a modified double knockout where it is double knockout, but once you lose 2 games, you're now down in like a lower bracket or something like that,
Right.
and you play for, I don't know, a medal or a cup or something.
Yeah. Yeah. So.
Food for thought, something to play with maybe.
Mm-hmm. But I don't even know the history of, like a lot of the national competitions and stuff like that. Like historically, has it always been the same, or has there been different things happening? And maybe they've already tried it and it
Yeah.
hasn't worked. You know.
I can say that for the past, I want to say 5 years, for the majors, which has been pairs, fours,
Mm-hmm.
triples, singles, whatever you want to throw into there, has been a full round robin because every province wants to play every province. You know, you fly all that way, and if
Right.
you're from BC, you want to play Nova Scotia because you don't get to any other time.
Mm-hmm.
And people are pretty happy with that, and I get it. But I really do agree with you where I think double knockout would be the way to go, and I don't think that's ever been tried at the national level, and if it has, it would have been back in like the 80s or something like that, which
Right.
was so long ago that it could be a different story now than it
Mm-hmm.
was then.
Yeah, yeah. Double knockout and maybe even have a mini turn. Well, like you say, B
Yeah.
section or whatever mini
A
tournament.
mini tournament after for
Yeah,
those who get knocked out. Yeah.
yeah.
Yep. Especially at a national championship like this, because this is or should be the most competitive players
Mm-hmm.
here. So I would think that they would probably agree that double knockout would be the way to go because they want to be the best. They don't want to be playing useless games.
Right.
For a more casual tournament, then yeah, round robin makes sense. So looking around here, it is 8-6 for Richard Yao over Kerry Lucier next door. They're playing the last end of the second set. Richard won the first set as well, and he's up 2. On the other side, Doug Prop's up 10-2 over Greg Wilson. Further on down, 14-5 for John Bronner over Dave Anderson. 6-4 for John Bjornsson over Brian Coleman. And 9-3 for Heren Bartu over Charlie Taylor. I'll take the scoreboard off so you can actually see the whole ditch and what's going on here. Don't think that's gonna do it. So this is where it's kind of interesting just because neither Patrick nor Mike are from here. So trying to draw to the ditch, we'll see if they practice that at all during the practice day. Not the easiest shot in the world to draw to the ditch.
Oh, nice shot.
That's a beautiful bowl. I believe the jack is just below Patrick's left foot there. And you can see where he's lining up. So taking a look to see if he has second or third, because that'll impact whether he drives it off or just tries to push it and stay. Last bowl of the game coming down here from Patrick Cote.
I think is he after bowls there?
I think he was after that green bowl. Oh, he just missed it. Great effort. And that is the game.
Yeah.
We'll take a quick 10-minute break before we get going with the next women's match here on Rink 5.
Sounds good.